In this video, we're going to be discussing how to craft better offers with AI. Now, this forms part of a series that we have been looking at where we are studying how to grow business demand using AI as a leverage. Now, it all comes from the foundational point that says for any business to thrive, demand must exceed supply. Now, what does that mean? Supply always talks about how much of something you can deliver. So you have a product, you have a service you're offering to the market. How much of it you can produce or deliver represents supply. Whereas demand talks about how many people want what you're offering. And so you always want the number of people who want what you're offering to be way higher than how much you can supply, because that means you can command price. That means whatever that you're offering is more valuable. And that's what creates businesses. That's what makes businesses thrive. And so it begs the question then that how can we create that demand? How can we grow that demand? And that leads us into the 4 pillars of growth that we've been talking about. And the pillars are offer quality, we have lead generation, lead quality, and finally, lead conversion. And so we're going to delve deep into the first pillar, which is offer quality, and look specifically at how to craft better offers leveraging AI as a tool. And so let's get right in. So first of all, to understand how to craft better offers using AI, it will be important to understand what an offer itself is. And so an offer is not about your product description. It's not what your service does. An offer is a promise of a transformation. A promise of a transformation. So what that means is that your product or your service has embedded in it a certain result or outcome that it produces for a certain type of person. So the promise around that transformation needs to be clear. That is what customers buy, not necessarily what your product is or does. And so with that foundational thinking, then how can we create or craft better offers? Now, AI is an incredible tool because this time around, the mental ideation and the burden of that is not really going to be on you, but rather you need to know how to use the AI to produce that level of quality. So we'll look at 4 key pointers to help us understand how to go about crafting better offers with AI. So this can be like a mental model so that when you open your favorite AI tool or what we call LLM, large language model, you know exactly how to interact with the AI to get the best outcome possible. So the 4 pointers are context, then we look at customer, we look at market, and finally promise. So context, customer, market, and promise. All right, so the first one is context. Now, this goes beyond even just crafting offers. For anything at all that you want to do with an AI tool, context is super key. Context is what differentiates between the results you get and what everyone else in the market produces. So you notice with AI, there's a lot of generic responses, and many things from many people sound the same way. And that's because people are supplying vague questions and are getting generic and vague answers. So context is really, really important. Now, as far as crafting an offer is concerned, what kind of context then do you need to think about? The first thing is that you open the tool and don't just ask a question, help me to craft a better offer, or what should my offer be? You first provide your business background. What that means is that you need to give a lot more information about what your business is about, how long you've been in business, what kind of service or product that you have, what you're trying to achieve with it, and what you've tried in the past. You can supply even documents like your company profile. You can give a link to your website. And what this does is to set the tone for how the AI should think. So all of that information is going to place the AI in a certain bucket or to play a certain role for you. And that helps at the end of the day with the kind of outcome that you produce. So context is really, really important. Supply as much information as you can before you even start ideating. Okay, so the second point that we're going to look at is customer. So we talked about context. Now we're looking at customer. Now, remember, what we are trying to achieve with crafting a better offer is that every customer that interacts with this promise that you've made should go like, this is what I want. How can I get it? How can I achieve it? Right? And so in order to get there, we need to understand the world of the customer really, really well. So here, what we're going to be doing is to use the capabilities of the AI to conduct deep customer research to come up at the end of the day with what we call the ideal customer persona or customer profile. So we want to be able to understand all that surrounds this customer we want to get to. Where do they live? What is their location? What are their pain points? What are their fears? What are their needs? What are their wants? What are their obstacles? These are all things we need to go very deep into so that when we are messaging or when we are communicating, we are speaking directly to a certain type of person. And it resonates so much with them that it helps whip up interest or desire in your offer very easily. Okay, so to do that, again, you get into your favorite AI tool. And by the way, you can use any kind of tool at all, especially the LLMs. You can use Gemini, especially for research that is internet-based. You can use Claude also. Claude is very good at writing. You can use ChatGPT. So what's more important here is the foundational thinking so that you can direct any of these models to get you the best outcome. So you go in there and again, you provide context around what you think the customer is for your product or your service and get into research mode to understand what they might need, what their pain points are, what their fears are, and what the outcomes they desire around what you seek to produce or your service is. So at the end of the day, what you are coming up with is the ideal customer profile. And it's going to be a document that tells you all about your target customer. And that will come in handy later on. So remember, for the customer, you need to enter into their world. You need to know even the language that they use to describe the problems that they have so that you can also speak directly to what they want. So that is for the customer. The third point I will talk about is market. So we've looked at context, we've talked about customer. Next thing we need to think about is market, the marketplace. So here, what we are thinking of or what we are trying to come up with at the end of the day is understanding what already exists in the market and what could be our competitive advantage in the marketplace. And so we've thought about the customer, what the customer needs are, and the pain points, the problems they're trying to solve, even their fears. We understand more of the world of the customer. And so we're using that to form our offer. But now we need to understand what exists in the marketplace. There are people who are already providing similar stuff. So we need to know what's out there and what our advantage could be. So here, again, you're using AI's capabilities to help you do deep research in the marketplace. Now, when you find that the product that you're coming up with or your service is so unique that it's not available in the market, you should actually be worried, right? Because even scripture says that there's nothing new under the sun. So it definitely exists in some form, in some way. So what you're trying to do is to peel back to understand what the twist you can provide is. What angle or what can you sprinkle on top that nobody else has? That is going to appeal more to whoever the target market is. So at the end of the day, you're coming up with a list of the top competitors and exactly how they're going about solving the problem that the customer has. Then you can get the AI to start ideating with all the context that you've given it around what could be your advantage, what could be your competitive edge in the marketplace. Now, this helps so that by the time you're launching that product or you're going out with that service, it has a unique feel. Not just everyone else is providing this, and so, hey, here I am, I'm also going to provide the same thing. So market is super, super important. Now, after we've gone through the 3 pointers we've talked about and done deep research around these areas, which is context, customer, and market, now we're finally ready to craft our offer. So the final pointer is promise. So here, what we are trying to do with the AI, with the context that we've already provided, is to come up with exactly the transformation that the customer is seeking. Now, because we've done research into even market and seen what's available out there, the promise, again, it's going to be very unique and special. So, first of all, promise here is about the transformation. That point needs to be very clear. For example, if a customer came to you and wanted you to build a website for them, now the product that you're going to be giving out to them is the website. But that is not your promise. That is not the offer. If a customer could get what the website would do for them without actually building a website, they'll go ahead and get it. So they're probably thinking a website can give me business credibility, or it can help me grow my business. And so if they could get that business growth without a website, of course they will do that. So you need to understand beyond the website, what exactly are they thinking a website can give to them, so that you craft your promise around that. So if they're looking for business credibility, talk about business credibility. Communicate like that. Position yourself like that. If they're looking for business growth, then your focus around your offer should be, I can help you grow your business, not I can build a website for you. Let's say you have a transportation business, right? So you help people move from one point to the other. If you're doing so via car, that is just a medium, right? The offer or the promise is really, I can get you from one location to the other in convenience. That becomes the offer or the promise. So you're always thinking about what is going to change. What is that outcome that the customer is looking for? When you craft your offer around a promise of a transformation, it sells way, way better. So here, what you're doing with AI, with all the context around the 3 prior pillars we've talked about, you're trying to carve a promise. So first, you need a summary. What exactly is that promise summary? You need it in full. And then you're going to add a few things that makes your promise credible. Now, remember, for people to actually take you up on the offer, they need to believe that they are going to get the promise or that expectation, that final outcome. They're actually going to get it. So your promise needs certain credibility signals around it. So you need things like testimonials, you need things like case studies, track record. You need all of the things that goes to say that you are an expert in what you do. And so that promise you are making, they are definitely going to realize that promise. So get AI to think about the why, right? So you have your product, you have your service, you need to be peeling off all the layers to be understanding why the customer will need such a product or such a service. When you find out that why, you need to keep going and asking why and why till you get to that final step to know that my service or my products actually produces this exact transformation for the customer. When you get there, that is your offer. So all the details around your offer simply pushes the promise rather than just a lot of jargon and verbose words. Okay, so we've talked about 4 pointers. First one is context. Second is the customer. A third is knowing about the market. And then the final is your promise. So AI being the foundational tool that you use to ideate, what that can give you is speed. You can do all of this in a matter of just minutes. And this used to take a lot of months to really come down and get it solid. But in just 30 minutes, you can get all of this going. So what this video helps you with is a mental model. How do you need to be directing the AI to give you the best results possible? And I hope this video was able to help you. We'll continue in the series. We'll go deeper into how AI can help you build demand for your business. If you found this video helpful, make sure you stick around to give it a thumbs up and also subscribe to the channel. All right, see you in the next one. Bye.